Imagine waking up tomorrow, and everything you know about the modern world is gone. Not destroyed, not burned, not erased by war or catastrophe, simply never built. No search engines, no social media, no emails flooding your inbox at 7 in the morning. No streaming platforms, no online banking, no maps on your phone guiding you through an unfamiliar city, just silence. A vast, unconnected silence stretching across every continent on Earth. This is not a story about losing the internet. This is a story about a world where it never existed in the first place. To understand how we arrived here, in this alternate reality, we need to travel back. Not to the moment the internet was born, but to the moment it almost wasn't. The year is 1989. In a quiet research facility nestled in the hills outside Geneva, Switzerland, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee sits at his desk. Around him, papers are stacked high, coffee cups line the windowsill. The hum of early computer processors fills the small room like a mechanical heartbeat. He is about to write a proposal, a document that, in our world, changed everything. A system for sharing information across a global network of computers. He calls it the World Wide Web. But in this world, he never writes it, not because of illness, not because of failure, but because of a single decision made 3 floors above him. His department director, a cautious, budget-conscious administrator named Henri Moreau, reviews the research priorities for the coming decade. He sees Berners-Lee's preliminary notes. He reads the concept. And with the quiet certainty of a man who believes he understands the future, he dismisses it. Interesting, but impractical. We are a physics laboratory, not a communications company. The memo is filed, the funding is redirected, and Tim Berners-Lee, a man of extraordinary discipline and professionalism, moves on to other projects. That single moment, that one signature on one internal document, is the divergence point, the precise fracture in time where our world and this alternate world split apart like 2 rivers flowing from the same mountain, each finding a completely different ocean. Now, you might think, surely someone else would have built it. Surely the idea was inevitable. And that is the most dangerous assumption you can make about history, because ideas are not inevitable. They are fragile. They are dependent on funding, on timing, on the right person being in the right room at the right moment. Remove any single piece of that equation, and the entire structure collapses. In the years that follow, the ARPANET, the early military network that existed long before the web, remains exactly what it was always intended to be: a closed, classified communication system used exclusively by governments and defense contractors. It never opens to the public. It never becomes something a teenager in Tokyo or a grandmother in Cairo could access from a personal computer. The 1990s arrive without a digital revolution. The personal computer industry grows, but slowly, awkwardly, like a plant denied sunlight. Computers become more powerful, yes, but they remain islands. Isolated machines sitting on isolated desks, capable of processing information, but incapable of sharing it instantly across the planet. Microsoft still rises. Apple still survives. But neither company becomes what we know them to be. Without the internet as an ecosystem, without the web as a foundation, they remain what they always fundamentally were: manufacturers of expensive, complicated office equipment. There is no App Store, there is no Windows Update, there is no digital marketplace where software travels at the speed of light from a server in Seattle to a screen in Sao Paulo. Software is shipped in boxes installed from disks, updated by technicians who drive to your office in a company van. The world moves forward, but it moves slowly, heavily, like a machine running without oil. And somewhere in a quiet suburb of Seattle, a young man named Jeff Bezos takes a job at a hedge fund. He never has his famous regret minimization moment on the highway. He never pulls off the road to imagine an internet bookstore. He never resigns. He never drives across the country with his wife to start something new. He becomes a very successful hedge fund manager. And that is all. In a dorm room at Harvard, a 19-year-old named Mark Zuckerberg codes a program to compare photos of students. It goes nowhere. Without a network to distribute it, without a platform to host it, it dies on his hard drive. He graduates, he gets a job, he disappears into ordinary life. And in a garage in Menlo Park, two Stanford PhD students named Larry Page and Sergey Brin work on an academic paper about the mathematical properties of citation networks. Without the web to index, their algorithm has no purpose. Their paper is published in a journal that 12 people read. They never found Google, no Amazon, no Facebook, three companies that in our reality reshaped the entire architecture of human civilization simply do not exist. And the world that grows in their absence is not a darker world, necessarily. It is not a poorer world in every sense of the word. But it is a profoundly different one. A world where information moves at the speed of paper and broadcast signals. A world where power belongs to those who control printing presses and television towers, not server farms and fiber optic cables. A world where privacy is not a policy you agree to, it is simply the natural condition of human existence. A world that, in the year 2025, looks nothing like the one you woke up in this morning. This is that world, and we are only just beginning to explore it. The year is 2025, but not the 2025 you know. No notifications, no trending topics, no breaking news alerts vibrating in your pocket at 3 in the morning. The world is quieter here, slower, and in many ways, far more dangerous than you might expect. Because silence is not the same as peace. In this world, information is the most valuable commodity on Earth, and it does not travel at the speed of light. It travels at the speed of a printing press, at the speed of a television broadcast, at the speed of a phone call between two people who actually know each other. The media empires of this world are not tech companies. They are paper empires. Rupert Murdoch does not own social media algorithms. He owns entire governments through the newspapers they cannot live without. The man who controls the morning headline controls the morning mood of an entire nation, and he knows it. Television is king. It has always been king. And in 2025, it remains king. There are no streaming platforms, no on-demand content, no skipping advertisements. You watch what the network decides you watch, when they decide you watch it. Prime time is still prime time. And the families that own the broadcast towers are among the most powerful families on the planet. The economy of this world grew, but unevenly. Without e-commerce, without digital supply chains, without the invisible infrastructure that in our world moved trillions of dollars across borders in milliseconds, global trade is slower, more physical, more dependent on geography. The shopping mall never died here. It thrived. Main Street survived. Small businesses survived. The local bookstore, the neighborhood travel agent, the family-owned record shop, they all still exist because Amazon never came to devour them quietly in the night. But do not romanticize this world too quickly. Because without the internet, the pharmaceutical revolution slowed dramatically. Medical research that in our world was accelerated by global data sharing, by AI models trained on millions of patient records, by instant collaboration between laboratories on 6 different continents, happened in isolation here. Diseases that we cured took longer to cure. Some were never cured at all. The COVID pandemic of 2020 in this world was not managed through contact tracing apps or mRNA vaccine technology developed at digital speed. It spread through a world that communicated by fax machine and telephone hotline. The death toll tells a story, that no newspaper in this world dares to print in full. Politically, this world is fragmented in ways that feel ancient and familiar at the same time. Without social media, there were no Arab Springs, no digital revolutions organized through encrypted messaging apps. Authoritarian governments that in our world fell under the pressure of viral protest movements still stand here, taller, quieter, undisturbed. But without social media, there was also no algorithmic radicalization, no echo chambers amplified by engagement metrics designed to maximize outrage. The political polarization that in our world tore democracies apart from the inside never reached those extremes here. The world is more stable in some places, more oppressed in others. It is not better. It is not worse. It is simply the consequence of one unanswered proposal sitting in a filing cabinet in Geneva. And somewhere in this world, people are living their lives, falling in love, making mistakes, searching for meaning, without ever knowing what they are missing. In our world, power shifted. It moved quietly, almost invisibly, from governments and corporations with physical assets to a handful of men sitting in glass buildings in Northern California, commanding invisible empires built from data and code. That shift never happened here. In this world, the old powers never loosened their grip. The oil companies that in our world began to feel the pressure of a digitally organized climate movement face no such resistance here. No viral documentaries, no global online petitions signed by 40 million people overnight. No teenage activist with a Twitter account disrupting the annual meeting of world economic leaders. ExxonMobil, Shell, BP. They do not just survive in this world, they expand, they consolidate. They become something closer to sovereign entities than corporations, funding governments, owning media, shaping legislation with a confidence that in our world they lost somewhere around 2010. The military-industrial complex grew larger too. Without encrypted civilian communications, without privacy tools, without the chaotic and ungovernable nature of a global open internet, surveillance became simpler. Governments built networks of human informants, of phone taps, of postal interception programs that would seem medieval to us, but function with terrifying efficiency in a world that never developed digital countermeasures. The Cold War mentality never fully died here. It evolved. By 2025, the world is divided not by ideology alone, but by access to information technology. The nations that develop the most sophisticated closed computer networks, the United States, Russia, China, treat that technology as a military asset more closely guarded than nuclear weapons. There is no open web, but there are private networks, exclusive, expensive, accessible only to governments, universities, and the largest corporations on Earth. Information is not free in this world. It never was, and everyone knows it. The wealthiest people on the planet are not the founders of tech companies. They are the families that own the infrastructure of the physical world. The shipping lanes, the railway networks, the television broadcast towers, the pharmaceutical patents. Bill Gates is not the richest man in the world here. He runs a moderately successful software company that sells products primarily to large corporations and government agencies. The richest man in the world owns a shipping empire. And he has never once been asked to testify before a Senate committee about the impact of his algorithms on democracy. Because he has no algorithms, he has ships. And ships have always been legal. Power in this world is visible, tangible. You can see it, touch it, photograph it. A factory, a tanker, a television tower standing against a gray sky. And perhaps that visibility makes it more honest. Or perhaps it simply makes it easier to worship. Strip away the politics. Strip away the economics. Strip away the power structures and the corporate empires and the geopolitical chess games. and ask yourself one simple question. What does a human life actually feel like in a world without the internet? The answer is more complex than you might expect. Because in many ways, life is slower here, and slower is not always worse. The morning begins without a screen. There is no algorithm deciding what mood you should be in before you finished your first cup of coffee. No notifications, no comparison, no carefully curated highlight reel of someone else's life making yours feel insufficient before 8 a.m. You wake up, and the world waits for you, patiently, quietly. Human connection in this world is physical by necessity. If you want to speak to someone, you call them, you visit them, you write them a letter that takes 4 days to arrive and carries the faint smell of the house it was written in. Relationships here require effort, deliberate, conscious, irreplaceable effort. And perhaps because of that effort, they mean more. Loneliness exists in this world. Of course it does. It has always existed. But it does not wear the particular mask it wears in ours. The mask of a person surrounded by thousands of digital connections, followed by millions, liked and shared and quoted, and utterly, profoundly alone. The loneliness here is honest. It has a face, and faces can be found. But do not mistake this world for a simpler paradise, because without the internet, access to knowledge became the great dividing line of human civilization. The child born into a wealthy family in London or New York has access to libraries, to private tutors, to international schools, with resources that would seem extraordinary to most of the world. The child born in rural Indonesia or sub-Saharan Africa has almost none of that. In our world, a smartphone and a data connection began, imperfectly, incompletely, but genuinely, to close that gap. A girl in a village with no school could watch a mathematics lecture recorded at MIT. A young man with no access to a hospital could research his symptoms and understand his options. None of that exists here. The knowledge gap between the wealthy and the poor in this world is not a crack. It is a canyon. And it grows wider every decade. Entertainment in this world never globalized the way it did in ours. Music travels slowly here, through physical albums, through radio stations, with limited range, through live performances in cities large enough to attract touring artists. The cultural cross-pollination that in our world created entirely new genres, entirely new art forms, born from the collision of influences across continents, happens here in slow motion, across generations rather than overnight. There is something beautiful about that slowness, and something devastating about it too. Love in this world is local. You fall in love with someone you can reach by bicycle. Long-distance relationships are genuinely long distance, measured not in miles, but in months between letters, in phone calls that cost more per minute than most people earn per hour. The person who might have been your perfect match, living in a city 12,000 kilometers away, speaking a language you never had the tools to learn, remains a stranger forever. In this world, 7 billion people share a planet. They breathe the same air, they look up at the same stars, and most of them will never know the others exist. We have walked through this world now. We have seen its quiet mornings and its slower evenings, its physical empires and its paper trails, its honest loneliness and its unbreachable knowledge gaps, its families gathered around television sets, and its letters that smell like home. And now comes the question that this entire journey was building toward. Is this world better? The honest answer is that it depends entirely on who you are. If you are a child of wealth, of privilege, of access, this world is not dramatically different for you. You still have libraries, you still have universities, you still have connections built through old money and older networks, The absence of the internet inconveniences you. It does not destroy you. But if you are the 80%, the vast majority of humanity, born without those advantages, this world is harder. Measurably, provably, statistically harder. The tools that in our world gave ordinary people extraordinary reach simply do not exist here. Your voice does not carry beyond your neighborhood. Your talent does not travel beyond your city. Your potential hits a ceiling built not from your limitations, but from your geography. And yet, there is something this world preserved that ours is still desperately trying to recover. Attention. The deep, undivided, fully present human attention that our world fractured into 1,000 pieces and sold to the highest bidder. The ability to sit with a thought long enough to truly understand it. To read a book from beginning to end without a notification pulling you sideways. To have a conversation where both people are entirely, unreservedly there. In this world, the human mind was never colonized by an algorithm designed to keep it perpetually distracted, perpetually stimulated, perpetually just dissatisfied enough to keep scrolling. That is not a small thing. That is perhaps the most profound thing. Because what we built with the internet was extraordinary. Genuinely, historically extraordinary. We connected 7 billion minds. We put the sum of human knowledge in the pocket of a farmer in Kenya and a student in Vietnam and a grandmother in Peru. We gave ordinary people the tools to document injustice, to organize resistance, to find each other across impossible distances and say, "You are not alone." We did all of that. And then we handed those same tools to systems optimized not for human flourishing, but for human engagement. And engagement and flourishing, it turns out, are not the same thing. They are sometimes opposites. So here we stand, at the intersection of two worlds, one that never built the highway and remained trapped in its own geography. One that built the highway and then forgot to ask where it was going. Neither world is the answer. But perhaps understanding both brings us closer to building something better than either. This alternate world, this quiet, slower, more isolated version of our planet, is not a warning. It is not a utopia. It is simply a mirror, held up at a precise angle in precisely the right light to show us the shape of what we chose and what we lost in the choosing. The internet exists. It is real. It is yours. The only question that remains, the only question that has ever truly mattered, is what you decide to do with it. If this journey made you see the world differently, even for a moment, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. If you want to keep exploring worlds that never were, worlds that could have been, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, because the next alternate reality we're building is one you will not want to miss. We don't rewrite history. We simulate what could have been. See you in the next world.